All right, I wanted to do a video this morning. I've had several pieces here that have been waiting to be finished glazed. Everything here has a base coat of Honey Flux, and I've got a really nice bowl. And I'm going to tell you, I'm really happy with this bowl. There's not always times that I throw a piece that I just love, and this bowl. I hope it doesn't let me down in the glaze kiln. I just love this bowl. I love the shape and the size and the feel, the thickness of the walls, the evenness. It's just one of those pieces, and you know when you throw a piece that you just go, man, I like that. I did good on that. You know what I'm talking about. Just something you're happy with. I've got that big bowl. I have 5 of my little mixing bowls. I continue to sell out of these. And I really haven't done a lot of stuff lately, just with travel and other things going on. I have a couple of utensil holders here. Got one there, and I've got this one in the back that I've done. And I left a bare spot here, and I just kind of decorated around here. I put some little handles on it. I like to just manipulate things a little bit. Of course, I've got my little cut in the bottom to keep it from running off. And I was gonna just do some of these rims. With the Honey Flux, I just really wanna do the rims on these because I'm just looking for a little bit of accent. And then I wanted to share with how I do this and apply it, and then I'll have a kiln opening at the end of this video if you wanna watch and see each of these pieces come out. So this one I'm gonna start out with, and I left a bare spot on the bottom. And I'm going to keep this on earth tones, and I'm going to do ancient jasper. We have a lot of birds out here right now. We've had orioles. I keep getting corrected on my pronunciation by the expert on the back porch. And but we have orioles. We have had bunting, painted buntings, blue buntings. So this is Albany Slip Brown PC32 on top of Honey Flux. And all I'm going to do here is put some spots around here like this. I don't want a lot. I know this is going to move. Albany Slip Brown moves on its own to some extent. And then with the Honey Flux, we're just going to get a really neat little accent here. Have a little fun with this. And I want to get right down on the inside. If you can see how I'm just doing a little bit of a taper, just a spot. Oops, about lost that one. Just kind of spotting it. So I really just wanted to share how I'm doing that. Let me pull this camera in a little bit, see if we can get a little bit better view of what I'm doing here. Excuse my hand there. And we'll try to arrange that where you can see it a little better. All right, maybe that'll help. But I enjoy making these to some extent. I do get tired of doing some things. I used to do woodwork a long time ago, and I got to where I was doing so much piecework. You know, people just wanted so many of the same things. And then I got to where I was cutting out pieces, you know, and then 10 of these pieces, 10 of those pieces, and then put it all together to end up with, you know, the finished product. And I finally just got tired of it, and I sold all of my equipment because it was like, all right, I really don't want a job here. And I'm kind of this way. I'm trying to be careful with my pottery because I really enjoy pottery, but I don't want to make it turn into a job. I can't physically do it as a job. And I do get bored with stuff really quick. So one thing I do love about pottery is that you can make so many different things and use so many different methods to do things that I think you could go a lifetime and just never run out of different things to do. All right, now that is Albany Slip Brown on here. And I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. But all I'm doing is accenting these pieces. We'll get some water over here. Set that aside. And then I'm going to take some ancient jasper, PC53, to just mix with it. Things are pretty nice out here. No, you can't see it from here. I've got a grill going on the back porch. I'm gonna smoke a little chicken here in a bit. It's Mother's Day, and we've been talking with all the kids. The wife is taking a chill day. Which is not something she does very often. Okay, now you can see this is still wet, but I'm just gonna put some spots, probably go around the top here because I want to blend some different colors. And I have no idea how this is gonna, I've never mixed these two like this. Most of what I'm doing today is stuff I've never done before. And I do really, and I want to be honest here, I really do appreciate all of you that do a lot with your test tiles and you track things and you know what kind of results you're going to get. And that's really important if you're doing it commercially and you're wanting to, you know what you're going to get. Oh, that's going to get wet on me. But it has just never been my thing, not to take away from what anybody else is doing. I just like to wing it. Probably been my life. Hasn't always been my best friend, but I'm still here after almost 64 years, and I have been blessed tremendously by the good Lord. So I am grateful, shall I say. All right, and that's about that for that one. We're gonna set that aside. That's gonna dry. Might get a little bit more here on the outside so that we blend this one. These are going to turn out really nice. I know they are, but I don't know that I'm going to get the results that my head says that I have. I always think I know how things are going to turn out, and then they come out of the kiln and I'm like, huh, I did not realize that. But anyway, if you've been watching my videos, you know we've been traveling a little bit recently, just kind of got away. It's kind of funny. I think a lot of my viewers, and I think I'm right, just looking at my analytics and my statistics on the channel, but a lot of my viewers are about our age, my wife and I. We're in our 60s. And so you can probably relate to a few things as we begin to age. Oh, our last trip to Florida was quite interesting. We ended up trying a new place that we've never been to. Just, it was a little bit cheaper, and we thought, you know, we're kind of looking for a place. We talked about maybe going down and actually spending a month there in the winter. And so we thought, we'll try this out. Well, we got there, and unlike our normal place that has elevators and all that, this is on the 3rd floor with no elevators. And that wasn't any fun, you know, trying to go up and down. And then at one point, they're actually working on the beach a lot, and they're pumping sand up, you know, from deeper in the ocean. They have this huge pipe out there in Pensacola, and they're pumping it up. And while we were walking along, we hit a spot. It was really a lot like quicksand. You sunk in it. I mean, down to your hips almost, trying to get out of it. I've never ran into that on the beach, but the wife got into it. I was holding her and trying to pull her out, and she went to twist, and her foot was so deep that it didn't twist and her knee did. So yeah, and then we're on the 3rd floor with steps, and yeah, guess who's at Wally World picking up knee braces? And the funny thing about that was we usually drive. We're drivers, but I've had some health issues lately that are keeping me from doing so much driving. Because we'll take a 1-day trip and turn it into a 3-day trip, and we'll stop at a bed and breakfast, or we'll just find an alternate path and find some town we've never been to, and we enjoy going and just investigating and looking at stuff. But coming out of Walmart, we had this little rental car. It's a little SUV that we had got, and I'm trying to get the groceries put in the back, and I'm standing there, you know, punching the button and it will not open. And then I realized my wife is one aisle over, standing behind our rental car, and I'm actually on the wrong car. You know, these little SUVs, they all look the same. They're all the same color. You've got a gray SUV. And so she's behind the Hyundai Tucson, and I'm standing here behind the Nissan Rogue, which will not open with my Hyundai key. Go figure. Just funny. I have to laugh at myself sometimes. Not that anybody else won't do it for me. All right, here's piece number 2. And this is going to be indigo float. And we're going to put some, we're going to put indigo float, and we're going to do blue rutile. If you're using Amaco glazes, I can't imagine that these are glazes you have not used, but if you're new to this, and I do have some new viewers, this will give you an idea of what they do. Indigo float really breaks nice. They're both Potter's Choice. You've got indigo float is PC23, Potter's Choice number 23, and blue rutile is PC20. And indigo float's a little bit brighter. If you go look at some of my other videos, indigo float is really cool under ancient jasper. You get some real neat reactions. I don't know if I've got anything up here. I don't. But I had a real nice utensil holder that my granddaughter liked, and I gifted it to her. But it's real neat the way you get a very unique type of swirling and different colors. It's one that if you looked at them and you put them together in your head, you would never get the right reaction that you actually, the actual, I don't think you could imagine, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think you could imagine the colors that are going to come out from combining those two. And that's my personal opinion. You may have a much better imagination than I do. But anyway, these I'm just, try. Indigo float is thin. You can see how this is starting to drip. I'm going to leave those because I think that's cool. Once in a while, it's like, that's not too bad. We'll let that one just kind of go. And we'll get some neat reaction to it. I don't want it to go too far. I really don't want it to run too far off the top. All right. I'm trying to avoid my heat gun just because I don't really want to splice video, and I know it's annoying. If I'm watching this video, I don't want to listen to somebody's heat gun. All right, and then we got blue rutile. And that is pretty accurate to what blue rutile does, and it has a really nice break on texture. There are a few glazes that I buy by the gallon. Blue rutile is one, and then I just refill these pints. If you're not aware of it with Amaco, if you order it, you pay about $20, $22 for a pint, but you can get a gallon for about $94. So you're getting it really close to half price when you go with the quantity and buy that volume. All right, then I'm gonna take blue rutile. We're gonna just mix this in here together. Where I'm a little bit weak, I wanna fill in. You see I've got some heavier drips, and so we're gonna put the blue rutile where those heavier drips are not at. And we're just gonna try to give it a little bit in here. I've really enjoyed talking with some of you on YouTube with the comments and all, and I appreciate your comments and your input. And I would say again, if there's something that you want to see me do or you're curious about, please let me know. I would tell you Healing Earth Ceramics is also on Instagram, which is a great way to reach out to me through the messenger there, which is much easier than comments. If you've got questions or anything, shoot me a message on Instagram. I try to reply to everyone. But just blending these, as you can see. Indigo float, blue rutile, get some little heavy bits here and there, And then when this begins to melt in that kiln, it's just going to be fun when it comes out. I don't typically, and maybe you do, please comment if you're, I don't typically mix glaze companies. Once in a while, I'll throw in a little Coyote with something like this, but I usually tend to stick to, if it's Amaco, I'm going with Amaco. If it's Coyote, I just don't mix the two. Maybe I'm just thinking, maybe I'm thinking that's not safe. I don't know. They're not made to go together. But that's really all I'm doing here. See how just gentle little mixtures. Try to get these off here. All right. And this one, I've really struggled with how to do this one. You can see what I did here with the trimming on the bottom. I've done this, I noticed this from a potter that I really appreciate. Sometimes on a big platter, a big plate or bowl, I leave this so I've got this is level here and here. You know how the inside of it, you can either get it kind of bowed in or out. Well, when these are the same, it keeps that bottom where you want it. And that's a little trim job that I've started doing lately. What I'm going to do here is I believe I'm just going to do downpour. What am I going to do here? I really don't want to screw up this bowl because I'm really in love with it. And I thought I would just do a little bit of a blue rim. I'm going to do downpour, which is a Celadon. So this is more stable than your Potter's Choice. But I'm probably going to throw some textured turquoise on top of it. That will give it a little bit more movement with that flux. But I like the darkness of this, of downpour. I like downpour as a liner. If I'm making mugs that can use a blue liner, you know, it's a really stable. I don't think I've ever had it pit. It does not run. I mean, you know, your Celadons are so stable. And it's really dark. You can see how that is. That's, what do we got there? 25. Celadon C25 from Amaco. I'm just going to put that on the rim of this bowl. And this bowl gets a whole shelf in my kiln. I've had problems with putting bowls off to the side, and then because they're too close to the elements, it will warp. And then I find myself crying into my pillow at night. You know, my wife thinks I'm having a bad dream, and I'm just thinking about my kiln results. So I've learned on a piece that I really like this, I'll give it the whole shelf. I'll put it in the center. If I have some tiny pieces to put around it, that's okay, but I want it to be right in the center of the shelf, because I have truly learned the hard way, that thing will warp. I've had something really unique happening with one of my kilns, which I really cannot explain. I'm gonna have to ask somebody that's a professional about it, but it will, I have witness cones on every shelf, and then of course you have your trigger cone. And when I do a bisque fire with it, it will kick off with the trigger cone. But none of my shelves get to temperature. They're close. I mean, they're just that close, but they just don't get there. And I don't understand. None of my other kilns do that. It's just this one, and it's one that it seems to get hot so fast. But I've tried biscuing in it a couple times, and I usually use it for glaze kiln because it gets hot quick. I do my glaze, I know y'all don't yell at me, but sometimes my glaze fires go in 5 hours. It gets hot, it gets temperature, it hits it on every shelf, and it's done. And I know some people do these long kiln firings, 10, 12 hours. I got manual kilns and I can't control a whole lot of that unless I'm out here just touching them little bit by little bit. But they get hot quick. And I can't slow it down. All right, I am going to do, this is on this bowl, downpour C25, a Celadon. And I am going to trim it off here with, I'm going to top it with some, oh, I don't think that's open, is it? It's not, you dirty dog, you. And these Amacos aren't easy to open sometimes, are they? Please relate. You've been there. There we go. All right. But I don't understand that kiln. And it doesn't seem to care. It just does its own thing all the time. But it was free. Somebody gave it to me. I was working in a shop at a little art store one time. I volunteered to work in for free, and so it was, they support kids and adults with disabilities, and their people were going away to camp and they were going to close the store. And I said, hey, yeah, I got nothing to do. I'm building a house and I don't want to be over there because that will just drive me bats watching what they build. I said, I'll come in and I'll run your store for you. And I thought I'd get some training, and what I got was keys. Yeah, thanks. Here's the keys. 2 days later, I'm by myself in this store running it for the whole summer. And then at some point somebody said, hey, there's a kiln in the back. They gave it to us. Somebody gave it to us. They said it worked great. And it's got a bad top on it. And I took it and I've used it and used it and used it. I think I put I had one element burn out, sizzle when I was out here working on it. So I'm going to have to dry this. So bear with me. I'll be back. All right, I've got this rim dried up a little bit here. And now what I'm going to do is put texture turquoise on top of the downpour. And I'm going to just kind of split that up a little bit. I like that. We'll leave some spots in between just to get it heavier in a few spots. But we did enjoy our trip to Pensacola. We tend to go there a couple, 2-3 times a year now, it seems like. And kind of got to know the area. There's places that we really love to go and enjoy. Just restaurants. And went out to Opal Beach, if you've ever been to Opal Beach, which is run by the Corps of Engineers. And it's a nice little beach area. They've got multiple bathroom areas and parking areas and little picnic areas with tables covered and all, and it's a really great spot. Costs $25 to go in, and your pass is good for 7 days. So the little place we stayed in had beach access, but it really wasn't on the beach. And so it was actually harder to carry chairs and everything, since we weren't renting chairs at this trip. It was harder to carry them and get there than it was to just drive down to Opal Beach and park, and you just get out and you're right there on the beach ready to walk in. So highly recommend Opal Beach. It's in between Pensacola Island and Navarre on that stretch in there that's, 25, 30 miles an hour for several miles, 9, 10 miles going over to Navarre. It's really pretty. They were slowing people down because of bird nesting this time of year. So they had actually changed the speed limit in some areas to 25. I'm pretty sure a bird is going to avoid me whether I'm doing 35 or 25. But that seemed to be a good idea to somebody. Not sure if that's considered sarcasm. It is. But that's just the way it is. But it was nice, and we did a lot of shelling. We did some digging. Like I say, I think I got off talking about where they were redoing the shoreline and pumping sand up, and when they do, all those shells come up. And we've been there when they were just everywhere. You just walk down through there and just pick them up, big shells and all. This time it wasn't that way. It was, if you grab a shovel and dig, you start getting into treasures. And it was fun. I did have a lifeguard come by because I was pretty deep in a big hole I was digging. I had seen a couple of girls the day before that were, I mean, waist deep in a hole, and I stopped and talked to them, and they were saying, yeah, we saw these other people doing it, and they were showing me all the stuff they were digging up. And so I was like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. And so I was, and a lifeguard came by and just chatted with me for a minute. Nice guy, just saying, hey, please fill in that big old hole when you're done. He was saying, I have been testing the suspension on this truck all day with people leaving these holes, and I'm driving down the beach and then hitting these big old holes. So I didn't have a problem with doing that. I was like, sure, not a problem. But I'll tell you, it was harder because you pull it out little by little. But then when it's time to fill it in, holy cow, it was a little bit tiring to fill that big old hole with sand. So, all right, I've got this now. And I really, like I say, I just want it around the rim some. I'm not really trying to give this bowl a lot of color. I love Honey Flux. You know how I love Honeydew. Honeydew is one of my favorites glazes by itself. But I'm gonna leave that like that, and I'm gonna try to just get around here on the edge a little bit because I want this to run down some. See what I'm doing here. I'm gonna just kind of wipe that in there. I do want it to come down on the outside a little bit. I'm afraid my brush has still got some water in it. But it's always fun. They had a big crawfish festival, which we chose not to go to. Just my wife's not a big crawfish fan, and I can take it or leave it. But when I can go to Maria's seafood market and buy royal red shrimp by the pound that has been peeled and deveined, that's kind of I'm on vacation. I don't want to work too hard for stuff. So, you know, peeling crawfish would be way too much job. But they had that going on. We like a place called, if you're in Pensacola, I love Dharma Blues. Neat little restaurant that's close to downtown. It's just in an older home that has been converted. It's got a neat little funk to it. They've got really good food. The service is great. You know, you can sit out in the yard and dine. It's just fun, you know. We even do some of the beach stuff. We go to, what is it, redfish, bluefish is okay. But there are some things that we just really enjoy. And we go down there and have fun with it. Have some nice museums. I mean, it's, of course, being from here and having our own local crystal bridges, it really doesn't compare. It's very different. But there are some neat art co-ops. They have art co-ops where artists come together and they display their stuff and then they help run it. We kind of have a pottery co-op here, or I guess it's an art co-op, the gallery here. It's a little different. I've never wanted to put in that much time and effort. I guess I'm a lazy potter. It's just a part-time. I'm just not in it to make it a job, or I don't know. I stay busy with other stuff. Forgive me for that. I wish I would have learned much of this when I was younger. I spent 30 years in IT work. All right, and that paid the bills, but it really wasn't fun. There we go. There's my perfect little bowl. I didn't do a lot on the outside. I'm gonna have a little bit run down on the inside. I might wanna put just a little bit more here on the outside, but I think I'm gonna just leave it. I'm gonna leave it like that. And we've got downpour first. You saw me put that on, and then the textured turquoise. So we'll move on. I'm gonna do a couple more here. Tell you what, I know what I'm doing with this. This is another piece that I like the weight of it. That was about, I think it was just shy of 3 pounds of clay, but it's nice and thin and it just feels right and it was fun. But this one, I'm gonna just do Ancient Jasper. I like Ancient Jasper. It's got a great look to it with Honey Flux. Here's a piece I did a while back. That is nothing but Honey Flux with Ancient Jasper over it. And isn't that gorgeous? Look at the colors that come out of that. Isn't that neat? I'm a fan. So, but I'm gonna keep this limited to the top. I'm not gonna go down like that one was done. I'm just gonna keep it up around the rim. I want a little accent coming down on these little bumps I put in here and on the handles. And we'll see what happens there. Going to have to document what I'm doing here because I will guarantee you when it comes out of the kiln, I will not remember what it was. I do that a lot of times and then I want to recreate something and I really don't know how. And so I have to kind of guess. That's pretty easy to do. I hope you can use some of these combos. Be interesting to hear what everyone is working on. Let's see here, yeah, let's do that. Let's get a little bit on that handle. So we'll get a little bit that runs down on that. We got some neat little marks right there. I really don't want too much. I just want something that gives us an accent. Sometimes I do pieces that are just Honey Flux, nothing else. This one here, I'm tempted to just leave it completely Honey Flux. And I may just do that. We'll just leave it. It will be a nice white, off-white color. It's got, you see my stuff where I do take that little square end of a chopstick and go around the top. And then I've got some lines in here. We'll get some breaks. So this one, we're gonna leave alone. Honey Flux, nothing else. We'll say it's finished right now. This one is done. It's Honey Flux with a bare spot, and we did Ancient Jasper. So, moving right along. I don't usually do a longer video like this, but when I do, sometimes a lot of people, you know, are really interested in seeing the whole process. And I've got a horrible mess out here right now since I got home from vacation. I just really haven't done a lot with it. We've been trying to catch up. I finally got the lawn mowed today. That was a 2-day process. It's just when we moved out here, I was quite concerned because it is a lot to keep up, but so far, so good. All right. This one here, I've never done this. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to put on this rim of Snapdragon C54, and I'm going to blend it with Smoky Merlot. We're going to get us some reds or pinks or something out of this, but this one will be fun. So, in a minute. All right, here we go. We're going to do C54 And I never realized until now, Snapdragon is a Celadon. So she's gonna be real stable up here. And then we're gonna throw Smoky Merlot in with it. And we'll maybe go down on the inside a little bit more with this one. Hoping you can see that. I don't use this very often. I don't deal with the pinks and stuff. I do sometimes on a mug, but not very often. They turn out nicely, or I'll mix it in with something just to try to get some reds in it. But this Snapdragon's almost empty, so apparently I've been using it on something. For those of you that do travel south to Florida, I'd love to hear where your favorite spots are at. We're always looking. Last time we were there, I guess in November, we stayed in Pensacola, but we took one day and we drove all the way down through 30A, Seaside, all the way down through to Mexico Beach, you know, through Panama City and all the way on down the Panhandle. And we spent the whole day doing it. It was a pretty good drive. I think we did, it's about 3 hours one way. And I just wanted to see it. I had a friend that went down that direction, was telling me about it. It's a little bit less developed. But our first trip to, our 35th wedding anniversary is going to be this November. And our first trip together to Florida would have been 30 years ago. And we went to Panama City, and it was a little town with a great dock, fishing pier. You know, we stayed in a 2-story little condo. It's called the Panama City Beach Club and Resort, and it had the, you know, the pink and turquoise porcelain, you know, the toilets and the sinks and all. It was old, and it was the best freaking trip. It had a screened-in porch that we could sit on, and walking to the beach, we were just right there. You walked out your screened-in porch, and it's it may still be there, the building, but there's so much that has changed in Panama City, you know, and it's, of course, MTV and Spring Break did a lot, and that really grew it there. But I know my granddaughter went, and she did not. She's like, "Nuh-uh, I don't like Panama City." It is it's very commercial anymore. It's very different than what it was in so many places. We're always looking for off the beaten path. And trust me, Panama City is not off the beaten path. I think that's why we like Pensacola Island, because you get out towards the end of it, and then you've got the National Seashore. And so there's really nothing farther down. You have to come back into town to get to commercial. And so you're just kind of out there, and that's nice. We walk and just enjoy the quiet out there. And then when we want to come in, we can. But I'm just not a fan of the busyness and the traffic and all that. Okay. All right, I am going to dry this real quick. All right, I've got that dried up, and we're gonna break out some Smoky Merlot here. And I'm gonna use a flat brush this time on this one. I'm gonna do it a little bit different. Let's use a little brush here, get some flat spots on it. And I'm gonna do it a little bit more like that. Getting down in here a little bit with it. We'll get a little bit more color on the inside. If I can get this into Kiln this afternoon, I'll be able to open it in the morning, or at least by mid-morning after it cools a bit. Just gonna leave some spots like that, a little bit of touching here and there. We'll get this on the outside. I will throw out a happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers. It's a great holiday to celebrate. Keep running back and forth, putting chicken on the grill while I'm doing this. Try to wrap this up here pretty quick. And if you're really not interested in seeing me do the glazing, then yeah, please fast forward to the end. You'll get to see the finished product. And there. I don't really put a lot on here because I'm really just looking, like I say, for that accent. So there's another one that's finished right there. I'll slide it over here. One more. This one I want to do with, throw these back together. I'm going to do some green in here. And we're going to do PC47 Emerald Falls and Wasabi. And I'm keeping my celadons, if you'll notice. My celadons are going on first because they're more stable, and I want my Potter's Choice on top because that will, I think, help those blend and run a little bit better with the flux on the bottom. That's just my way of thinking, my logical way of thinking. Whether there's any reality to it at all, I cannot tell you. Only the kiln knows. So we'll just go ahead and put that rim. Hey, one combo I do like, if you like greens, and that is, I like to put wasabi down and then I put seaweed on top of it. And I'm saying like maybe down so far, because where that stops, it always makes this little pink lace in between the two. And I don't know how that happens. Somebody that knows the chemicals in these glazes could probably explain what that pink lace is. All I know about it is it's pretty, okay? And I like pretty. Oh. I think I just bought some more wasabi recently because this one's getting low. We went down to our local store, our local pottery supply, and we were wanting to get the, what is it, Mixing Clear C11 that my wife uses on her underglazes because it's so stable and it does so well on the underglazes, and they were actually out. And so we got online and just bought a gallon of it so we wouldn't run into that again, because she had stuff she really needed to get done, and we got it overnighted. And like I say, instead of spending $22 a pint, we got, I think it was $94 for the gallon. And there are some places, if you'll watch, I'll tell you, I like Kruger Pottery, Krueger, I believe is what it is. It's close to St. Louis. It's a suburb of St. Louis. I bought one of my wheels from them, and I buy stuff from them occasionally. But they'll run specials. They'll have 20% off or buy 3, get 1 free kind of stuff with glazes. And they'll do a ship for free. And that's really nice at times. Okay, there we are. We got wasabi. And I do have a really nice little drip. That one there's gonna give us some funky stuff there. Got some on the outside, they're real thick. I just thicken them up like that sometimes. There's no real science to it. I know some people are very particular with this stuff, and good for you. That's your way of doing it. I will tell you, a few years ago, I wanted to make sourdough. And I really got a kick. I've always wanted to bake sourdough bread. I never did it. And when I was dealing with recovering from a head injury and all, and I couldn't do a lot of stuff, I started my own sourdough starter, which was basically putting flour and water in a jar and letting the active yeast from the air come in and grow it. And I watched all these videos on YouTube. And I love that these people are so specific. You have to have 100 grams of flour with this much, exactly this much water, and don't vary from it. Make sure you keep these two in it. And then if it's a little thick, just add some more. And it's like, why does it matter that we're so specific with this and this? And if it's a little thin, add flour. If it's a little thick, add water. How about you dump flour and water together until it's the consistency that you like? And I've done that. I have my starter, this is 2026, and my starter is 9 years old that I started myself. I bake with it almost every week, every couple of weeks. I bake sourdoughs. I use it for a lot of different things, just the sourdough starter. I use it for a crust. I should do a video on this, but you take it and you just take a cast iron skillet and just pour it in there with some olive oil where it's real thin it out a little bit, and then end up mixing up eggs and sausage and cheese and pour it all in there and throw it in the oven, and it makes a great little quiche. But anyway, that is another channel. We're doing pottery today, so please forgive me, I do wander. And now we're going to put some Emerald Falls on here. But I love baking, I love to cook, and I will tell you, my wife does not complain about it. When I was in management in my old IT job, and I'm just putting some Emerald Falls, if you've ever used seaweed, Emerald Falls is a whole lot like seaweed when it comes to thickness. It is a very thin, watery glaze. And so I'm just carefully, I don't want it to run down too much. But anyway, in some of my old jobs, when I was into different types of, this is going to take off on me and I don't want it to. I would go to different management classes, you know the old, if you've ever been in business, you're looking at what your personality type is or your management style, and they're trying to teach you all this stuff. Well, I always noticed, with your type A or type B, I was in a type A group, but it was so funny that I could be in a group of maybe 6 or 8 different managers, and we would get to talking, and all of us type A's, we all cooked. And I think that's just because we like to build things. And to me, cooking is building. You're just taking different ingredients, or, it's just like construction material. You're putting it all together. And it was so interesting that so many times, it's like all of us that were in this type A group, we were all cooks and loved to cook. And my wife had to cook a lot of times when I was working with the kids, the boys and all, and she's like, you know what, you just do it. I will eat what you cook. And I cook 95% of the time. You guys would get more videos if I wasn't having to cook. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a little sarcastic sometimes, just joking. I love cooking, I really do. And I do, like I said, I bake. I've started making some barley sourdough breads. And we like to load them up with nuts and seeds. So there we go. We have wasabi and Emerald Falls. And I think this is going to be really cool too. I'm excited about these coming out. I hope you guys are enjoying this video. So I usually do quick short stuff. I'm on the very last one, and I'm going to do something weird I've never done here before. I'm going to do tourmaline on this one, and I'm going to do it with iron luster. And I have no idea what's going to happen. And the funny thing is, all these are just to go in a shop and sell, and so I really should just be very drab and just systematic with doing this. That's what I'm trying to say. Or just use the blues, the pink, the red, whatever, you know, sells. But if it doesn't turn out, then so what? Somebody will love it. So I'm going to rim this one with tourmaline. This one's kind of drying up on me in here. Tourmaline's a real pretty glaze. I like the colors. You get a little more turquoise than you do with textured turquoise. We'll just get us some rim on here. But these will be fun to pull out of the kiln. See what we got going there. I hope I've entertained you a little bit with my rambling. Like I say, I'll tell you a story. I used to run around with my grandkids when they were younger. We would take these little road trips with them, and they were always saying, "Hey, Grandpa, tell us some stories, tell us some stories." And they loved to just sit and listen to me tell stupid stuff that happened when I was a kid or something like that. But this one's a little bit, I'm telling on myself. I used to work at a A&W, you know, the root beer place. And I was like 13, and I got my parents to sign so I could get a job. And I had a Suzuki 185 that I rode there. I mean, 13 years old. And now, I mean, I think about my kids when they were 13. It's like, are you kidding? I would not let you get on the road on a motorcycle at 13, but it was a little different world, I guess, back in the 70s. And we had this new waitress, and of course she was older than me. I'm 13, you know, she's probably 17, and we were all just gaga for this new waitress. And one day I was downtown, and it was a small town. And if you know those whiskey barrels, those half whiskey barrels that people cut them in half and they plant them, y'all get to laugh at me now, okay? So y'all laugh. You could even point and laugh because I'll never see it. But I was walking down the street, and on the other side of the street was this waitress. And I look out and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I yell at her and I'm looking and I'm waving. Well, while I'm walking along, I don't realize there's one of these half whiskey barrels. I walk right into it while I'm smiling and waving and trying to be cool. And I mean, that thing hit me in the shins, and I flipped over it while she was watching. Hit the concrete, of course, jumping up like, whew, I meant to do that, you know. Just stupid little things that now I look back and it is funny to laugh about, but as a kid, some of the silly things, I wrote a bunch of stories about stuff, and then the other day I started actually reading a book, and the first part of the book was like, I could have written this. It was about when we were on a farm and we had pigs, and the whole thing just goes into exactly one of the things that I had lived through, and I'm like, wow, I could have written this. I have a story that's written about it, which is exactly like this book. I'm wondering if somebody stole my story. But anyway, yeah, so anyway, falling over a half whiskey barrel is not a quality pickup line, okay? Just letting you know, do not use that. It doesn't work. All right, iron luster is going on over our tourmaline here. And I'm gonna have to dry that a little bit because I think I wanna go a little bit lower than just mixing it. So bear with me. All right, we're gonna finish this up. We're gonna put some iron luster on here. And I'm gonna do some dabbing. just finish that out. I'll probably go a little bit lower with this on the inside because I know this is pretty when it goes down. We'll have a neat little rim, and then we'll have an iron luster inside that just goes down. This will probably sink at least a couple of inches. You can see that band I'm putting on there. It's just shy of an inch. But I have found, if you're looking for a piece, and maybe it's my area, but around here, I sell these little mixing bowls. I can't keep them in stock. And I just don't want to make them all the time because it's no fun in just making the same thing. But people are always, between that and the little herb bowls, tend to sell out. See what this does. There we go. That is some nice. And that's it. Kiln opening following right away. Thanks for watching. All right, I've got the kiln opening from this video I just did where I had, everything was a base of honey flux, and then I used multiple colors around the rim just as accent colors. I did take a quick peek inside of here, and some of these, the top shelf was really hard to identify, so I'm gonna do my best, and I may have to correct myself on some of these once we get the rest of them out, because again, they don't turn out exactly like I think in my head they're going to. So here we go. And they won't come out in the same order as what I actually filmed myself doing the glaze work on. So this one here, if you look at that light blue, the creamy color, look at the inside of that. That is honey flux, and around this rim, if you remember this bare bottom, this was Albany slip brown and ancient jasper. And I would never think I would get those light blues and colors there. Really pretty bowl, but I sure would have thought we'd have got more browns and darks out of that. And we didn't. So this next one here, I'm gonna have to guess on, but I'm pretty sure this one is the tourmaline with iron luster over it. That would be my guess. And I really like the way we get this creamy color right in here. You see that? And again, if you didn't watch the first of the video, this is just solid honey flux. And that rim, all these rims were just right at the top. And you can tell how, I love the way that the honey flux lets them, they're coming down at least a couple of inches, sometimes a little bit more. But I just put it right around the rim. I didn't go down very far at all inside either. But that interior is very typical of iron luster on honey flux. Pretty bowl, nice little swirl. Here's the utensil holder. Had the bare spot, and then we just did ancient jasper, and I really wanted to keep this almost a solid color, but maybe with a little accent. You see how we got just a little darker there. I didn't put a lot on there, because I just wanted it to be kind of universal, so it would go in anybody's kitchen, since it's an item that we're just going to sell. All right, we've got, this was a refire, amazingly enough, that my wife had done, and the interior needed a little bit more glaze on it to just make sure it was sealed good. And so this has been fired twice to cone 6, and all of my stuff here on these kilns is cone 6, manual kiln, no hold. And it looks like we got right to it looking at the witness cone. But this didn't move at all. The snow on the outside, and then we did a clear coat over the top of this underglaze that was painted on top of Amaco snow. And it was fired twice, and it still just remained really stable. Just a nice little mug there. Got a couple of these. Oh, those are cute. These pretty little herb bowls. You see the little caterpillar right there that you strip your herbs through, and the little hand painting. We've got a little caterpillar in here, some bugs. Little dragonfly right there, a couple of them. Isn't that just gorgeous? And then there's another one. Love the lavenders. Little dragonflies. People tend to love these. I know I do. They're just gorgeous. All right. Here's our witness cone from the top shelf. Nice little cone 6. Turned out nice. It may get a little warm down in here for me. See what we got. Yeah. Now here's another one of these herb strippers. This one is just a, there's no snow. This was a bare stoneware clay with grog. And then the underglaze is painted directly on that and then clear coated with Amaco C11, the mixing clear. And it just, see how it just keeps it so stable. There's no blur or run. Works really well for that kind of stuff. That's pretty. All right, this was Snapdragon and Smoky Merlot. And I like the way that came out. We even got some blues in here. This would be a lot more vibrant without, these are all speckled clay. And so you do get some, I don't know if you'd call it distortion, but it just kind of takes from the color a little bit. But I like that. Real pretty little mixing bowl. Snapdragon and Smoky Merlot mixed together. I like that. Couple more here. All right, this should be our Emerald Falls and Wasabi. And so it did come down a little farther. It didn't stay all green, but we did get some nice green tints in there. Looks like I was maybe a little bit weak on this one, but it still gave it a really nice accent. There's some nice darks in here. It's pretty. And then the last of the mixing bowls. This one was, what did we end up with? Downpour, which was the Celadon that was really stable with textured turquoise over it. And that gave us a really nice blue. And again, you get the little lacy colors down in here where it runs. It's a nice little bowl. I sell those for about 40 bucks. I don't know what you would price them at, but they sell, depending on how much detail is in them and size, somewhere between $38 to $42. One more. That's the second shelf. May have got a little bit past cone 6, just a hair. I think I'm gonna be happy with this when we get to it. All right. That's a little pinch mug that I threw. Did you have one that broke?
Yes.
All right. This is, we just use these in the bathroom, you know, next to your little vanity sink. And so I threw another one. And that is Honey Flux with just cosmic tea dust. Just, I mean, it was around the rim, and see how much, that went 3/4 of a way down from just that. It was right around the rim. We did not go down at all. She had that just barely up the top. And I love the way that does that. So much movement. Oh my gosh. Always something. My big old bowl has a problem. Oh. All right, a couple more of these little herb strippers. Again in the clear coat without the snow. And then here's one with snow with the underglaze painted directly on top of it and then clear coated. Oh, I like these. These are almost like lantana colors. Yeah, and I always love the lavenders. Real pretty. All right. Trying to figure what happened there. This is that big bowl I so loved. I love the colors, love the way it came out. And somehow, there's a little pit. Wasn't there when it went in, but it is when it came out. I have no idea what happened there. Strange. Strange little things happened in that kiln. But the colors came out good. That was actually on the bowl, that was textured turquoise on the big bowl. Downpour and textured turquoise on here. And that gave us some nice darks in here, and a little bit lighter up here. Isn't that nice? All right, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. We really appreciate all of you. Have a great day. Cheers.